Hello and welcome to this episode of the Be Free podcast. So, excuse if it's a bit echoey. I am out in my meditation studio. We have some friends over tonight, and I was determined to get this podcast out to you this week. I'm way to send some healing to my metamorphosis ladies soon, but I'm just determined to get this episode out to you this week. So, this week, we are discussing aligning with yourself. So, how to realign back with your life, kind of coming home to yourself, remembering who you are. And this was a theme based on me going on this little journey myself this week, just realigning back into my purpose, my life. How do we do that? And also, I had asked on Instagram if anybody had any kind of themes that they wanted me to explore. And I had a lady ask, like, how does she find herself again after motherhood? She was feeling a bit kind of lost and disconnected. So everything that I'm sharing today ties in really nicely with both. So if you are struggling with identity due to relationship changes, redundancy, parenthood, maybe you've shifted job, maybe you've spent too long people pleasing. This is a common theme with people that I work with, and you just kind of don't even know who you are anymore. And we get to a point in life where suddenly we're like, I just want to feel me. I just want to feel me. I just want to know who I am. And that was kind of like my little mission yesterday. So what I would say is that we all change, we all evolve. And there's no kind of stopping that, right? Like things happen in our lives that affect us, and maybe what was once important is no longer important. As I say, things like people pleasing, the relationships that you have will affect, where you're at, and then those relationships change. And then again, you're like, oh my gosh, who am I? Like I was once this, and now I don't know who I am. So I wanted to just share some tools, techniques to support you in that navigation back home to yourself. Now, I listened to a podcast the other day and it gave such a great analogy for kind of realigning back in your path. And it's one that really kind of struck me. So she was actually speaking about the Tesla car and how you put in your location. And I don't know, I take it must kind of drive there itself. I don't really understand it all. But anyway, it like to me sounded like, when the lane assist, if you have a car that has lane assist, you will know this feeling. Like suddenly you're going off the path and it like starts to judder and you get like, for me, like whole driving anxiety. I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? And the car will judder and it'll try and pull you back on the path, but ultimately you can pull yourself in a different direction. But it just feels really uncomfortable. So I now hear the nudges when I am heading off the path, a bit like that lane assist, like something will happen, and I'll be like, oh, something's not quite right. I can feel changes occurring. I can feel I'm just not quite in the right space. Whereas previously, back in the day, I didn't always hear that. Like my body, my mind, my spirit would be screaming at me, like, Susie, like you're not supposed to be doing this, or you're not supposed to be with that person, or you're not like sort yourself out. Like, why are you doing this job? Like, like, or whatever it may be. And I would like wait till the super last minute sometimes until the anxiety was so bad that I would have to make a change, or the universe would throw some giant freaking curveball in my way to make me stop and pay attention. So I don't really want anybody to have illness or giant curveballs come in their way in order for you to realign. But sometimes when we're not tuned in, that's what it takes. So firstly, I would suggest, like, if you are feeling a bit lost and unsure who you are, you really need to create some time and space to be by yourself. And I know in the example of motherhood, that can feel really, really challenging. You know, trying to get time and space when you're trying to appease so many different people can feel really, really overwhelming. And just for anybody, motherhood or not, life is really busy and life can feel really full on. So to carve out that quiet time and space does take action. And what I would say here is that boundaries are necessary. They're really key, like what you're going to say no to, so that you can make space for the things that you're going to say yes to. And that can feel really hard and really overwhelming. I am going to put in the show notes my creating boundaries affirmation meditation, so you can have that for free. This might just support you in getting some inspiration so that you can stick up for yourself a bit more. You can say, actually, no, I don't want to do that. No, that doesn't feel right. And if you have my book, Be Free, which I will also hook up in the show notes, there's a whole chapter dedicated to boundaries, people pleasing, and saying no. There's even tools how to help you say no. So what I would say is think about the things that you want to say no to. Okay, when stuff comes in, tune into your heart. Like, does this feel like a hell yeah? Or a, oh my God, I'm just saying yes, but I really want to say no. And start learning to say no. So the more space that you can clear, the more head space that you can create for yourself, the more likely you are to allow the good in, allow space for the things that really light your soul, that are really meant for you to come in. So my tool number one, and this is a process that I have been working with my metamorphosis ladies with, is at the end of the evening, I would love for you to just have a bit of paper or a journal and write down the things that deplete you, the things that energize you, and the lesson you've learned. Now, I did that for 30 days when I was looking to discover my purpose again after ill health, and it was so fascinating. You will begin to see the things that you're doing that really don't light you up, that drain your energy. And that's the thing. So I would say if it is in alignment with you, yeah, you can feel tired or fatigued, but you won't feel drained. It's like a different kind of energy. Like, when you go for a really nice long beachy walk and you're like tired, but it's a good tired, that's okay. But if you're feeling burnt out, frazzled, that is not okay. So start this list, and at the end of the day, so what energizes you, what depletes you, and what lesson have you learned? And just through this awareness of doing that, my ladies just did it for a week and had quite profound insight, but I did it for 30 days, and it was so helpful just to recognize maybe the things that weren't quite working out for me. Exercise number two, kind of similar, but I want you just to make a list of all the things that bring you joy. Now, if you're thinking, I'm not actually experiencing any joy just now, my life's pretty crap, then I want you to think to the things that, like, maybe as a child, what did you enjoy as a child? What lit you up? What, like, it just makes you think, oh my God, that'd be so fun. What things do you see other people doing? You're like, God, I wish I could do that, or I wish I could go there, or, start writing this list of the things that spark joy in you, and then start actioning them. Even just the simple act of planning will get that sense of excitement and those feelings building within you. Exercise number three. Now, this might be one that you might want to work with a coach in. I did think I had it in my book, but I can't seem to find the chapter with it in it. But I will link up a free PDF that might support you with this as well. So basically, this is, I would say, the most important thing that everybody should learn and know about themselves. And that is what your values are. And are you living in alignment with your values? So for the lady that had messaged, the mom saying that, like, she didn't know who she was anymore, really try and identify your values, what's important to you, and hopefully that PDF will help. This is something that I work with my group coaching clients with. It's something that when I worked with my one-to-one clients, I would do that. There's loads of tools online that might be able to support you with that as well. But when we begin to align with our values, life feels in flow, we feel authentic, and you can begin to embody them now. You don't need to like make any crazy ass changes. So an example, so one of my values is beauty, um, freedom, creativity. So say I was in a job that did not allow any of those things, right? Or I felt like my life didn't allow any of those things. Creativity could be as simple as making a different recipe, like doing something like that. Beauty, just picking like one little corner of a room and putting a nice vase with flowers or whatever your depiction of beauty would be. Your core values might be adventure, teamwork, and maybe that is okay, actually, maybe I plan to like join some volunteering thing that is a bit of an adventure and I get to meet new people. So we can begin to align with our values now. Now, thinking about back to motherhood, and my anxiety was pretty high, like when my daughter was probably, how old would she have been? Unsure, maybe like 2, 3, whatever. Now, as a mum, I would kind of like unconsciously compare myself to others in that like I didn't really like playing with my daughter in the sense of, like playing Barbies and, makeup and like I mean like making up story kind of game kind of things and stuff. And I used to feel really, really bad about that. But ultimately, that just kind of didn't light me up. But what did light me up was obviously I've mentioned creativity is one of my core values. I love doing creative things with her. I love baking with her, cooking with her, coloring, having time in nature. Obviously, nature is something that's hugely important to me. I loved those times when we were together. Yeah, maybe I wasn't loving taking her to soft play or trampoline parks or things like that. Um, and that's where, like, when I did those things, I used to get like super anxious and uncomfortable. But now I can see that's because I wasn't living in my truth. I was living in societal expectation of this is what I should be doing with my daughter. So just giving that as a little bit of an example for the mum who was asking. But we can really weave our values into our day-to-day life. And in this PDF tracker that I'll hook up in the show notes, you have this opportunity to rate where you are with each of your values. There's some sample values there that might give you a bit of inspiration. There's loads of apps online that you can use. But you're going to rate your values, how much you think you're living up to them right now, and then you're going to set actions to support them. So as I said, the creativity one, maybe it's like, okay, I'm going to do some mindful coloring. When are you going to do it? You set the date, you take the action, and the more you begin to do those things, the more in alignment you feel. It sounds so basic and so simple, and we just get pulled in so many directions from other people's expectations and societal expectation that we all need to be the same, which is absolutely ludicrous when you think about it. Okay, so what else have I got here? Okay, thinking about your strengths. So what are you good at? What things, are you great at? Like that can give some kind of indication. Doesn't always necessarily align with who you are. Just because you're good at something doesn't mean that that's what you should be doing. But pay attention to that. Yeah, let's focus on our strengths, not our weaknesses. What do you care about? And do more of that. Right. Again, that sounds super simple. Like, what is it that you really care about? Well, I care about nature. I care about being outside. I care about spending time with my horses. Okay, do more of that. Okay. Cool, living in alignment. I literally just come from the field with my horses as the sun was setting, and I was just like, knowing that I was about to record this, like, oh my gosh, like this is my life. I love it. I love being with my horses. I love watching the sun setting. I love being outside. I even love picking up horse poo. Like this is my aligned life. So thinking about that, what do you really care about? And try and do more of it. This is why boundaries are important, because otherwise your time, I mean, your time is like the only thing that you really can't, like, you can't buy time, right? Like it's something that we have, like, and it's a finite resource. So we need to say no and have the boundaries in place so we can do the things that truly light us up. This is one that I do with my coaching clients when we're looking at life purpose. And it's thinking about your life. You can do this two ways. One, as if you're writing your own eulogy. What would you like your eulogy to say? And two, reflecting back on your life as if you're old. So I sometimes do this visualization with clients where I'll get them to visualize that they're sitting in an armchair and they're really old and they're reflecting back on their life. And I'll get them to reflect back on what were the achievements, what did they enjoy most about their life, who were they with, where did they live, what did they get up to, you know, whose lives did they touch, all these different things. So if you want to reflect back on your life, how do you want to be remembered? Like, what would you like to have experienced? And that will give you a really, really great indication as to how you can come home to yourself more. Next, starting a gratitude practice. Again, this will really bring awe and change the vibration and frequency of your life. So the more we can begin to be grateful for what we have, the more we can begin to just like recognize the things that spark joy in us, the things that make us feel content and joyful. So starting a gratitude practice can really, one, shift your vibration into loving the life you've already got, but two, to recognize the things that really light you up as well. Is this the final one? Maybe the final one. Mindfulness. So mindfulness and acceptance. Pay attention to what is important. Pay attention to how you're feeling. Use your feelings and emotions as signposts as to whether you are taking the right path or not. Does this feel good? Does this not feel good? Now, it's not to say, so I was speaking with a friend today who is supporting me with some coaching work. And she said, how do you feel about making these changes? And I was like, scared and excited. So you can feel scared and excited at the same time. Just because you're nervous about something doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means you probably haven't done it before. So know that it doesn't necessarily mean that it is wrong. I want you to think on the other side of that action. If you're doing that action, you've embraced that. How do you feel? Do you feel expansive or do you feel small? Yeah. So if we feel expansive, like if you're thinking, okay, well, once I do that, if I actually did that, oh my gosh, I would feel absolutely incredible, amazing, go for it. Or that would take me that step closer to my desires, go for it. If you're like, oh God, I actually feel sick to my stomach, I cannot think of anything worse. And I did this with a client recently where I got her to close her eyes and then visualize an outcome the opposite of what it was that she was looking to achieve. And I was like, okay, let's just carry down this path as if nothing changes. And in 5 years' time, you're working 9 to 5, your daughter's at school, da 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 da, and like went through this process with her. And she felt the tears and emotions welling up and felt sick, like, no, 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 I know that isn't for me, which gave her the confidence to embrace the life that she was trying to create, this other life, the life that was in alignment. So know that you can just pay attention to those feelings, pursue what's important. So I studied acceptance and commitment therapy, and that is such a life-changing modality, but ultimately that is working with our values and living your life in an aligned way despite of what's going on, right? So even if you're experiencing trauma, even if you're experiencing addiction, even if you're experiencing ill health, you can still live in alignment with your values and you can still pursue what's important. And by doing that, you begin to align with your life. Journaling, always up for journaling. Journaling can be such a great way to get to know yourself. Again, just tuning in with what's going on for you. And yeah, I think that's enough to get you started. This is the kind of processes that I take. Well, it's kind of is and isn't the part process I take my metamorphosis group through, but ultimately I'm taking them to discover their life purpose at the end of the day. But on that journey, they're really journeying to come home to themselves. That group program is currently sold out for 2024 and the start of 2025, but I do have a wait list for that. So I'll be looking to speak to those that are interested before then. So you can sign up for the wait list for that if that's something that you might be interested in. But I will share meditations. I have a meditation for alignment and finding your true purpose. I will hook up my Be Free book. I'll hook up a meditation on boundaries and affirmations. PDF of the core values, and also a link to the Soul Sanctuary, which is my incredible membership with the lovely Susan Finlay, where we practice mindfulness, acceptance, we have gratitude practices, and we have longer sessions that help us discover things like embodying an aligned life. So I am sending you all so much love today. Any questions on anything about this, do let me know. Ultimately, I would say number one for me is carve out that time alone, get some time with your journal, get to know your values and just start actioning, creating some actions around those values. If you're stuck on that, jump into my inbox, let me help you. And yeah, enjoy finding your way and coming home back to your heart. So let's close our little podcast today. Pop a hand, both hands on your heart. Allow your eyes to drop closed, unless, of course, you're driving. Take a nice big deep breath into that heart space. Slow exhale. Again, breathing into that heart space. And as you do, just maybe repeating to yourself, I am ready to welcome me home. I am ready to get to know myself. I am ready to trust myself. I am ready to love myself deeply. Taking a breath in, breath out, and so it is. Thank you so much for being here today, for listening, for tuning in. I hope that that supports you. Any questions, pop them in the comments. I'd love share to your stories. Let me know if this has helped you. With so much love from my heart to yours, I look forward to being back next week. And I've got some guests lined up for October too. So I'm really, really super excited about that. And sharing their wisdom with you. So have a beautiful rest of week and I'll see you guys next week. Bye, my loves.